Welcome to Mock the Mock, where I take a look at someone else's mock draft and I mock it, giving my views, thoughts, and opinions. Got a great one for you today. Special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring today's video. More on them a little bit later, but we're heading over to the YouTube, taking a look at that franchise guy because he just released a post-combine mock draft and he's got the graphics back up, which just makes my job so much more easier. So let's go ahead, take a look at this sucker. I've already went through, watched it myself, so hopefully I don't butcher his opinions and perspective on this. But there's Marcus. If you don't know the franchise guy, man, go ahead, check out that dude's channel. He does great work. He was one of the guys that basically made me want to start my own YouTube channel, and here I am today. But with the first overall pick, I believe we're gonna get a trade here, as the Giants are going to move up and select their quarterback of the future, Cam Ward. This is what the draft capital looks like for the trade. Basically, the Giants are going to move up to 1. They're going to give away pick 3 along with a first rounder next season. I think a lot of us are kind of on board with like, okay, well, the Giants are going to take a quarterback. They're going to get some hope to the future, even if this quarterback isn't going to start this season. I think they're going to have a heavy hand in free agency trying to plug some holes. And I think they're going to probably bring in a veteran quarterback, whether that be a Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, I believe is the hot name going around right now, to be the starter next year and try to keep that team competitive so the front office keeps their job, because they're in a terrible predicament where you got the owner, hey, things need to change. We need to start winning. You got poor Brian Daboll over here. I haven't been able to select my quarterback. You gave me Danny Dimes, and you expected me to turn this into cash money championships. Come on, man. Let me draft my guy. And hopefully this ends up being a situation where he does get to see the fruits of his labor. He makes a draft pick that he can actually develop. So we'll see, but Tennessee will get back to you at pick 3. And then we're going to go off to the Cleveland Browns, as they're going to go with Shedeur Sanders, quarterback out of Colorado. I do want to make a note that he does do the Myles Garrett trade in this, and we'll discuss that in a second. But right now, the report, because this is it. This pick specifically isn't what I would do for that franchise guy. It's, well, hey, listen, the rumor mill that they're willing to go out and go get a quarterback. I don't know if they are, if that player isn't Cam Ward, because again, rumor is there is a large divide between what the NFL thinks of Cam Ward and at least what some NFL teams think where Shedeur Sanders should go. But he mentions the Browns, they kind of don't do things with rhyme and reason, and that here we got a quarterback for next year. I know I've seen comments where it's like, oh, well, if I don't take a quarterback for the Browns first round, who's going to start at quarterback next year? Who cares? It doesn't matter. You think you're winning anything next year? I think if you're the organization and you're like, you know what, I like our GM, I like Barry, I like the coaching staff, I love Stefanski. We know these are our guys, so let's take a year or two to rebuild and try to get this thing back on the rails. Move Myles Garrett, maybe move guys like, you could talk about Denzel Ward. Maybe you want to keep him part of the rebuild there, and maybe move like MJ Emerson or Greg Newsome. He's coming up on a contract next season. So I like the idea of a rebuild, rebuild-esque for the Cleveland Browns, secure more draft capital, and then maybe go out next season and get that quarterback. But I do mention he does the Myles Garrett trade in here. Here it is. As he's going to send the Detroit Lions Myles Garrett for a lot. I mean, it's going to be a bidding war, right? And right now the standard value is 2 first round picks. If you got everyone everyone offering 2 first-round picks. You might need a little bit to sweeten the pot, and he throws 2 third-round picks in here as well. So Lions, I mean, you got a Super Bowl window. You're hoping you can stay healthy. You pair up Myles Garrett. Well, first you reunite him with Zadarius Smith, and you pair him up with Aiden Hutchinson. That's just a fearsome defensive line. Zadarius Smith, you can kick him inside and out. Remember, Aleem McNeil, he's going to miss a good chunk of the year with the late season injury. But there's your trade. Let's move on to the actual Tennessee Titans pick here, as they're going to go with Abdul Carter. Yep, Abdul Carter. Oh, I'm sorry, Marcus. That is not a beautiful picture of you that I stopped on. So they're going with Abdul Carter. I like the pick. They're trying to move, even if they weren't trying to move Harold Landry. Pass rush was still not great last season. You want to bring in some legit horses. Abdul Carter is a legit horse. He can get after the quarterback. I mean, last year was just a phenomenal sample of, okay, this is what he looks like in his first year as a full-time edge. Yeah, sign me up for this sucker. Yeah, we need to get after the quarterback. So I like that. I get it. You're going another year with the mailman. You could bring in competition via free agency, but let's be honest about the Tennessee Titans. You're still a ways away from being contenders. So recoup draft capital, acquire some picks, and maybe you look to a quarterback next year, or maybe later in this draft. No, they're not moving up to get a quarterback in this draft. The New England Patriots go with Travis Hunter, corner/wide receiver out of Colorado. And I mean, we've already seen the Bears be very active during free agency. Get in Joe Tooney, get in Jonah Jackson. And the Patriots, I think that kind of allows the Patriots to, if it sounds like Ronnie Stanley hit in free agency, Cam Robinson hit in free agency. A lot of these guards, like, it's still a pretty good guard free agent class. Hit in free agency. It still allows the Patriots to go and be active in free agency along the offensive line. You might be like, yeah, we need more weapons. Well, fun fact, Travis Hunter, he also plays wide receiver, but you get to have, you got Gonzo, you got Marcus Jones, if he can stay healthy in the slot, gives you some return capabilities as well. Travis Hunter just being this nasty corner with ball skills. That's also going to play a little bit of wide receiver and help out the quick game there. So yes, you don't pass up on, I would consider Travis Hunter a generational prospect to some regard, just because we haven't seen an animal like this before doing it on both sides of the football. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to go with Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver out of Arizona. And man, I like this quite a bit. The NFL draft community is kind of weird with Tetairoa McMillan's, like, where to take him. It's like, oh, I like Tetairoa, but I don't love Tet. I think you got guys like Mel Kiper, maybe not Mel Kiper, I can't recall, but like Todd McShay. He has him more as maybe this middle of the first round type of guy, not generally high on the wide receiver class as a whole, or at least not like top 10 high, I suppose. But I still think he's one of the best players in this class. I mean, the dude is a giraffe. Just, he stands above the rest at that 6'4", 6'5", ridiculously long arms, can pluck the ball out of air. Tough to bring down after the catch just because the boy be big. And I love that addition right next to Brian Thomas, which he did last year. This is Liam Cohen. He's trying to help and get the most from Trevor Lawrence, who you paid recently. You also have, you got Christian Kirk in the slot. Probably Parker Washington. They're probably going to move Christian Kirk, I imagine. So to me, it makes more sense. You bring in an offensive-minded coach, that he goes with an offensive player. It's like, yeah, there's a few good defensive options in this class. It's a deep defensive line class. You can do that on day 2 if you really want to. So I like the pick here. I really do. But before we get to pick 6, of course, I got to shout out our friends at Underdog Fantasy. It's the best place to play best ball. And fun fact, they got best ball. You could draft the rookies already. Sure, you don't know what team they're on right now, but if you're confident in how a guy's gonna produce, hey man, go have at it. But they don't just do football. They got basketball. You get your March Madness. The boys of summer, they're coming back. Baseball. And they even do like like I always bring it up. They even have props on e-gaming. Like, that's ridiculous. I didn't know they did stuff like that. So if you want to get in on the action, check out Underdog Fantasy. Sign up using promo code Broshmo, and they will match that first deposit up to $1,000 dues. Again, they got higher and lower on player stats. That's always a fun way to go if you love those prop action. But again, you sign up and it's promo code Broshmo. But as always, play responsibly, play within your means. Pick six. Who is pick six? It's the Raiders. Oh, I know what pick this is. This is Ashton Jeanty, running back at a Boise State. Now, this feels, for me, I still like, I'm getting up there in age. I'm old. It's hard for me to change my ways. I didn't love Bijan in the top 10. I didn't love Saquon in the top 10. I didn't love Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 20. But the pendulum's swinging the other way. We're moving back to the run game. And I think if you have an offensive line that can facilitate a rookie running back and production for a rookie running back, then yes, I think you could make a bid for that. You can argue that the Raiders, they got bigger fish to fry. Ashton Jeanty's hella good. I know we're talking about a stacked running back class. No one has a forced missed tackle rate like Ashton Jeanty. Oh, well, he did that in the Mountain West. Okay, look what he did to Penn State. You'd be like, oh yeah, 2 fumbles that game. All second effort fumbles. Because this man's fighting for his life the minute he was handed the ball. I think he had like 14 to 16 forced missed tackles in that game. The man can create. You go to that Oregon game. I just remember Derek Harmon coming in to clean up a tackle on Ashton Jeanty, and he takes everyone down but Ashton Jeanty. This man's so close to the ground, it's hard to get him on the ground. He just bounced out and then took it for like another 60 yards. I might not love running back here, but I'm not 100% against it. I can see it. You got an up and coming, ascending offensive line there for the Raiders. Who's going to play quarterback? A lot of those answers are going to be, or a lot of those questions are going to be answered via free agency next week. Sam Darnold is going to hit free agency. Could be a guy that comes in there. I know with Chip Kelly, you could probably argue, well, he's going to try to take his Ohio State guys. We might see Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins there in the second round. Perhaps a Will Howard in round 3. So you can make this pick something else. And it's like, okay, then what would this pick be? You could argue maybe like a Mason Graham. You can argue one of the edge players, but it's like, I don't know, like with like Tet off the board, I don't know if there's a pick I love here. I mean, trading down's always a fun option, but you are going to need a partner to dance with in a trade. We got pick 7. It's going to be the New York Jets. They're going to take Mason Graham, defensive interior, out of Michigan. It's a nice cookie cutter pick for a lot of people because, like, Mason Graham, he typically falls out of the top 5. If he doesn't go to the Jags, we typically see him fall a little bit. By a little bit, I mean here to pick 7. Occasionally, you'll see him maybe at pick 8, 9. I think like floors the Niners, but to pair him up with stinking Quinnen Williams, you get the mean streak of the defensive linebacker that they were just missing that last season. It's Aaron Glenn, a defensive coach. Yeah, I can buy into that. He's probably going to go defense early in his first draft. So Mason Graham here sounds good to moi. Let's move on to pick 8 because I know it's not Mike Green. I know it's not edge. I think he goes with Luther Burden. Oh, look at Marcus doing all this talking. The sweet the sweet lulls of that franchise guy. They go Luther. He goes Luther Burden, wide receiver out of Missouri. I'm still a big fan of Luther Burden. I'm a sucker for a receiver that creates force missed tackles. That's why I loved Malik Neighbors. There we go. Malik Neighbors last season. And Burden, is he the cleanest prospect? No, the route running could be less rounded, more nuanced, kind of is what it is. But in terms of like once the ball's in his hands, watch out, go get it. Ran a 4.41 at 200 plus pounds. So you love to see that as well. I'm still willing to buy in on Luther Burden. Like if you're not going to go edge here, which I think he gave good reasons because you got guys like James Pierce Jr. And Mike Green, who would be my next guys up. They got some character red flags. They just do. So that's fair. You could argue maybe like Jade Barron, Will Johnson, but like Barron, suboptimal arm length. Does that discount him out of the top 10? Or Will Johnson, who's got all kinds of questions after the combine, even before going into the combine, that just weren't answered for us. So if you can't trade down, yeah, why not help out Bryce Young, who showed some promise? Oh, boys and girls, Short Kings are back, baby. They're back. You like the NFL draft. Matter of fact, you love the NFL draft, which means you're going to love my draft guide. If you want to know every player your team drafts or even signs as an undrafted free agent, then this is for you. My draft guide updates every day, and you'll be able to see those updates in real time as I add new evals and player backgrounds. It'll have analytics from this year and last year. It'll have the pro day and combine numbers. It'll even have my notes from the Senior and Shrine Bowl. It's a one-time purchase of $30 via PayPal, Venmo, or the Cash App. You can check out the pinned comment or the description if you want to follow those links. And when you do purchase it, please be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to require your email. Don't make me hunt it down because I will hunt you down. I will find you and I'll make sure you get your money's worth. Anywho, thanks for supporting the channel. At pick 9, the New Orleans Saints go with James Pierce Jr., edge out of Tennessee. Brandon Staley is the new DC. You got Carl Granderson and a whole lot of nothing on that defensive line. Who's rushing the passer? Well, maybe Brian Brazee, but he also can't defend the run. James Pierce Jr., I thought he took a good step forward as a run defender. Yeah, he still needs to continue to add weight and mass to that frame. But as a pass rusher, his pass rush win rate was up there with, I think it was actually better than Abdul Carter's this past season. He knows how to get after the passer. And that's just something the Saints, they don't have guys that know how to do that. His defensive line has been in dire need of some more talent, and they've just missed on quite a few guys in that regard. I think the trenches in general make a ton of sense. They could go also the offensive line route. Again, you bring in Kellen Moore. Maybe he's like, okay, well, Trevor Penning, maybe we give you a shot at guard because, tackle, there were some okay games, and then there were some abysmal games last year at right tackle. So I think Armand Membu could be also in play for this pick. Let's see. We got pick 10 being the Chicago Bears. They go Armand Membu, tackle / guard out of Missouri. I love Membu. I really do. I knew he was going to blow up the combine. He exceeded my expectations in that regard. Looked like Isaiah Pacheco just running the 40 there. It was the most angry 40 I have seen in recent memory. But with the Bears moves, and again, a lot of this is now in hindsight because we didn't have I don't think we had Jonah Jackson gone. Even if we did, it just popped up this morning that Joe Thuney, he's going to be joining the Bears. So yeah, this pick kind of suffers because those moves were made. I don't know, because I don't know if you want to move Membu to the left side and maybe try to pitch Braxton Jones in free agency to a tackle needy team. You got, and I mean, it's like Membu, he's played exclusively on the right side. So again, I feel like this pick kind of suffers with, well, what the Bears have done recently and after this mock. So you get a pass. You get a pass, Marcus. Other than that, I like the pick quite a bit. I think Membu is going to go high. You got the San Francisco 49ers going with Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M. Again, I think the Niners are primed to go trenches, whether this is on the offensive line, because you got to be looking for that left tackle of the future, or you could get a guy who could play left guard immediately and then kick him to left tackle under the learning tree there of Trent Williams. Or you address the defensive line, who has just kind of not been great. It's been Nick Bosa, and that's about it. Like, this defensive line is no longer scary. It's no longer good. I love taking guys like Walter Nolan or really any of the edge players here. I think this team, maybe if Mason Smith does slip, they can move up and go get him. But they just don't have the horses. We have known the Niners for, like, they love their depth along the defensive line. And now you look at their even their starters, and it's like, we got to do something here. Shamar Stewart, he's kind of built how, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Like, Salah's worked with a variety of different, like, body types. Like, he does like long. I will say that he does like long, which not a lot of these top edge players are long. A lot of them are actually sub 33 inches, like Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., Mike Green. But I don't think he's opposed to that. But if I had to say, like, what type, it would be like a Stewart. It would be Mikael Williams. I think that would make more sense in terms of the edge, the type of edge they are looking for. But they're going through the trenches. I don't hate it. Let's keep moving. We got pick 12. This is the Dallas Cowboys. They go Will Campbell, offensive lineman out of LSU. So I get it that Nick Martin, Oklahoma State linebacker, probably goes day 3. Freaking love that dude. Nick Martin. I just did it again. Zach Martin. Golly. And I'm not even going to edit it. Y'all get to see my mistakes in real time. I don't shy away from my mistakes. I don't. But Zach Martin, he's retired. I think they got some faith in Brock Hoffman. I think he showed some good versatility, being able to play center and guard. I think they might send it with him at guard. I don't love Will Campbell at guard. I think he just plays too tall. Like, this is one of the most high pad level players I've ever seen. He stands directly up. Like, he's basically 6'6", and then after the snap, it feels like he's 6'8", 6'9". I don't like that. I hate tall guards altogether. Like, that's just a me thing. But I don't love the idea of him at guard. I think he can make it work at tackle. I know people don't buy into, like, oh, look at that arm length. It's like, but you've had players who have made it work in the NFL. Eric Jackson kind of being the most recent example of that. You love the movement skills of a Will Campbell. If anything, I'm having him have a go at right tackle, which it's like, I know he played primarily left tackle at LSU, but prior to that, he played 4 years at right tackle in high school. Terrence Steele, he's not been good since signing the extension. Move on from him. So there's a world I can see this. I think I'm still going for the wide receiver. Get a more sexy option next to CeeDee Lamb there. They just don't have it. I mean, they burnt a 4th round pick on Jonathan Mingo. Don't know why they thought that would have worked. But you could, I mean, if Ashton Jetty's still available here, then yeah, most definitely. But like, Will Campbell's, like, I know he's good. That's the problem. I know he's good, but I don't like him at guard. And then the arm length at tackle makes him a hard sell. So it's like, he's going to be one of the more interesting case studies in a couple of years. But let's move on to my Miami Dolphins, fins up, baby, fins up. Not right now. We trade the pick, actually. We're which I like, man. Dude, Greer, like, this dude doesn't move in the draft. And I don't think he values the draft. Like, how the Dolphins have done the draft, it's kind of sucked. It just has. Like, we'll be hitting on some of these day 2 prospects, and then we don't even bring them back. Like Javon Holland, ta-ta, bye-bye. Robert Hunt, hey, who cares about keeping Tua off his back? It's not like he has any injury woes. So, like, eventually we got to address the offensive line, and you can say, oh, we'll do it in free agency. It's like, yeah, but, like, we don't really have the funds to really go out there and get our guy and be able to contend with what other teams could be throwing money at, you know? So that's why I look at some of these more budget options. Like, I love a James Daniels. All right, or is Daniels? No, it's James Daniels. I just want to say Daniel James. I like him as a potential budget option. Like, he was having a strong season before. I think he tore his ACL, but then again, that was early in the year. He'll be ready by camp. So, like, I like those options, but I still think you need to go out and address it in the draft. And I kind of prefer, if the Dolphins could add more draft capital and take more shots, I would adore that. I would love that. Regardless, the Dolphins, they end up basically, you get a pick swap here of your first round picks, and then we turn our third round pick, that pick 98, into a second round pick at 51. So I'll take it. Tyler Warren going to the Broncos. He brings up Sean Payton coming from the Saints. When they like a guy, when they see a guy and like a guy, they go move and get a guy. They did that with Olave, Trevor Pennon. That's just who the Saints are, and I think that's who Sean Payton is. If he's like, oh, I like this guy, I remember when I had like a Jimmy Graham. I would love me a pass catching tight end that could also apparently move around and be a Taysom Hill for me. Oh, it just makes me feel good in the nether regions. That's Sean Payton. That's what he said, not me. So they're moving up to get Tyler Warren because, more importantly, you're jumping the Colts, who are like the most commonly spot for Tyler Warren. I think he probably goes higher than anticipated. Sounds like everybody and their mom are high on him and might go with him in the top 10. And I mean, with the recent success of like a Brock Bowers, even the year before, Sam Laporta, I think teams are starting to be like, oh man, if we could get a superstar tight end, that just kind of puts us in a different league, a different level. So Broncos get Tyler Warren. We got the Colts here at pick 14. They're going to go with Will Johnson, corner at Michigan. And I'm still of the mind of they need pass rush. They need it desperately. With Coach Lou there, defensively, they are going to need some horses that can play some man defense, or at least man coverage. I think we saw good things out of like Sam Womack and Jalen Jones last season. That's not to say like they're the guys, you know, but like you could always bring in competition, but you also get Juju Brents back. But I mean, the value is really good here for Will Johnson. I'm still in on Will Johnson. Like, I get it. Oh, arms are shorter than he anticipated for a 6'2" corner. His testing, why didn't he test? Are his medicals going to check out? There's a lot of question marks, but like for what he put up in 2023, and he just, again, wasn't ever that healthy. I think that it all kind of reared its ugly head in that I think the USC games where he hurt his shoulder, he tried to come back from it, still looked a little banged up against Washington, and eventually had like a toe injury that ended his season. I'm hoping just everything checks out with him. And I mean, you know what? Corner is a volatile position. If you want to just keep adding, I mean, you want depth, you want competition, you want talent in that cornerback room. Let's keep moving. We got pick 15. Atlanta Falcons. They go Mike Green. It's fabulous. They've needed pass rush for Golly, I don't remember the last time they had a good pass rusher. Was it John Abraham? It's like the first one that comes into mind. What was it? Patrick Kearney? Is that right? Oh my gosh, Atlanta Falcons. Let's go with sacks by year. Oh, don't give me sack totals. Give me sack leaders. There we go. Sack leaders. Here we go. All right. Oh no, this is the defense ranking. No, I want your sack leaders, bro. Oh, here we go. Here we go. No, here we not go. Come on, I just want to. This is kind of simple. It's kind of simple. Just show me who your sack leaders are, bro. Defense. Thank you. Come again. Gonna go with sacks. Yeah, you got John Abraham, Patrick Kearney. Okay, there we go. There we go. Yo, is Vic Beasley legitimately in like the top 7 of like career sacks for the Falcons? Is that right? That's sad as hell. Oh my gosh. Yeah, get pass rush, Falcons. Golly. Arizona Cardinals are going to go with Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas. I like Banks quite a bit. He came in plus arm length, taller than he expected, and had a relatively solid combine in general. Did he test out like Membu or Will Campbell? No, but none of it was like discouraging. None of it was like, oh, these are awful numbers. They weren't. They were pretty solid numbers. I mean, yeah, I think Marcus brings up that they're going to be very active. They could be active in free agency when it comes to the defensive line, whether that's Milton Williams, Josh Sweat. I brought up those examples myself. He talks about that they're going to have a lot of help coming back, and like BJ Ojolari is going to be healthy. But I don't know if he's made of glass like his brother, then I don't know if that's I don't know if you can rely on that. Darius Robinson, his rookie year was a wash. He only played like, I think, 6 games because of injury. Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones, they're coming back. They weren't really like, they were the big defensive lines interior signings. And I think Jones got hurt, or I don't know. They didn't play a lot of snaps. I didn't love the signings anyway. So like, that's not going to stop me. But he brings up like maybe they address maybe they go elsewhere with this pick because they're confident with who they're bringing in or who they're bringing back. Jonah Williams injured, didn't play much last year. It was a lot of Kelvin Beachum. Banks, you'd be moving him to the right side. You could probably make it work. So like, not too scared about that. You're protected. Your investment at quarterback there in Kyler Murray, Kelvin Banks, honestly, at that 6'5", maybe you don't mind kicking him. Like you can maybe kick him into guard because outside of Isaiah Adams, I don't think any of the guards are coming back unless they bring back like a Will Hernandez who's coming off injury. So like I can buy into offensive line being this pick. Walter Nolan going to the Cincinnati Bengals. Defense is just not in a good spot right now. Al Golden, he's going to want to change that. He's going to want to change just the overall stigma of this defense right now. They end up retaining Trey Hendrickson. I guess maybe they can make it work by working some extension with T. Higgins. As of right now, T. Higgins is a Bengal next season. And then they also got to figure out what to do with Jamar Chase next year. So that's probably another franchise tag looming and waiting. But yeah, address the defense. Walter Nolan. Freaking love this dude at the Senior Bowl. I think sky's the limit with him. Pick 18. We got the Seahawks going with Gray Zabel. Guard / center out of North Dakota State. I actually made this pick when we did our mock draft from the Senior Bowl. I thought, hey, he's going to be a hot rising name, tested out really well at the combine. Maybe top 20 feels a bit rich for some people, but like, if you're desperate for offensive line, I honestly would consider him as early as like pick 13, depending on how the board fell for the Miami Dolphins. I'm that thirsty to get protection for Tua. What can I say? But you look at the Seahawks and their offensive interior is just pee poo. Like, it's not great. It was by far the weakest spot on this team's roster. And it's like, oh, guard or offensive interior is not a sexy pick. Okay, keep sucking in the middle of your offensive line then, Seahawks fans. You got two really good running backs. You want to be able to run well and consistently? You want to be able to freaking protect Geno Smith in a division that's hella scary with teams like the freaking Rams who go and get after it with that defensive line? With the team like, I get it. I talked some mess about the Niners, but they bring back in Robert Saleh. Stunts are back in fashion, which means that interior line is going to suffer. So, yeah, if y'all want to keep messing around, y'all are going to find out the hard way why y'all are just a middle of the road team. The NFL is, again, pendulum swinging the other way when it comes to the run game, which means the offensive line, particularly the interior, has become a lot more important. That's why these guys are getting paid. So I like the Zabel pick. We got Jahad Campbell going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers linebacker at Alabama. I like the pick for the most part. You can make a point for edge. Maybe Jalen Walker here, maybe, and I know Marcus isn't particularly high on Jalen Walker, which I feel like in this middle of the first round area, he's kind of on the board for me. You can talk about Mikael Williams, the other edge from Georgia. They need pass rush. They did draft Chris Braswell last season, but like that can't be the only other guy. But Levante David, he's probably coming back, right? But he's also getting older. He hasn't had a running mate in some time, not since like we were talking about, is Devin White good or not? But you get a Jahad Campbell who brings that pass rush upside. By the way, typo, Marcus. I think Jahad's got one more A in there, which, hey, no hate. As a man who makes his own overlays, I understand typos. No hate, brother. If anything, respect. But Jahad Campbell, man, he can rush the passer. He's a former edge player. But what he really brings to the table is length and just speed. He's going to clog passing lanes. He's going to be able to make plays on the ball just because of how he can close. He's going to be able to be a very good blitzer. It wasn't just, him coming off the edge or acting like a extra pass rusher, but like legitimately, I think he times his blitz as well and does a good job of just kind of blowing things up in the alley and such. So I like the pick. If you want to go linebacker early, like Campbell, there's a lot of hype there. Sounds like he's going in the first round. And then we got pick 20. This is my Miami Dolphins. They go Josh Simmons, offensive tackle at Ohio State. Listen, they could legitimately, you could pitch Josh Simmons inside at guard. You could pitch Austin Jackson inside at guard. I just don't care. We need offensive line. We just do. Excuse me, golly. I'm all gassed up. We just need offensive line, man. We just need offensive line. I mean, typically, like some people will be like, hey, if you're a really good tackle, then probably translate into also a really good guard. We saw that with like a Tyler Smith, whose rookie year played tackle. I thought they would keep him at tackle. Instead, they decided to kick him in there to guard, and he ends up being one of the best guards in the NFL. I don't know if the same could be true for like an Austin Jackson or maybe even Josh Simmons. But Simmons, he's got experience on both sides of the offensive line. You go back to San Diego State, he played right tackle, played left tackle at Ohio State. So I'm all for the pick. It's fine. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers going with Matthew Golden, wide receiver out of Texas. I thought after a hot combine, he would go higher. But to be fair, Marcus also brought up, I can't believe he made it here. But I mean, it's a good draft. But Golden here, I like this. Listen, the wide receiver core for the Steelers, it's not great. It's not good. You got George Pickens, and then what the second target there's probably Pat Freiermuth. Like Calvin Austin, he's fun. He can be a vertical slot option, gadget guy, but you drafted Roman Wilson, but I think a hamstring injury kept him out all last season. But I kind of felt like he was more of a vertical slot player anyway. You need someone else there on the outside. They tried with guys like Mike Williams, Van Jefferson, Matthew Golden, man. I like him a ton. I thought he had some of the best tape during that last stretch of the season, maybe like a game or so before the SEC championship game, and then just all through the playoffs, man. He legitimately, he was like, y'all need an alpha. I will become that alpha. And he plays with that my ball mentality, tested out faster than I expected. And I think he's a very good route runner. So I'm all in on Matthew Golden. We got San Diego. It's always going to be San Diego to me. Los Angeles Chargers. They're going to go with Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama. Oh, man. I mean, dude, Jim Harbaugh wants to run the freaking football. You're set at tackle. You look at your interior and leaves a little bit to be desired. Zion Johnson hasn't been the safe projection many of us thought he would be. Like, he's been relatively just okay, and that's about it. But like, coming up on a new contract, and it's like, are we not confident we can do better with a draft pick or something? But I mean, you look at the other guard spot, you got Sawyer and Pipkins there. You could do better than that. Bozeman's a free agent. I imagine they want to go out and be active and bring in a center. But I think Marcus brought up a good point. Maybe trying Zion Johnson out at center. I think that's kind of a fun option I would like to see. But Tyler Booker, he helps this team run the football. And then pick 23 is the Green Bay Packers. He goes Jahdae Barron, corner out of Texas. I would have thought he would go higher than this. Again, ran faster, way faster than I anticipated. Not necessarily saying that you see that on the field or on the tape, but it definitely gives you a little peace of mind, especially after coming in with sub 30-inch arms. His ability to work inside and out, you love it. The ball skills are there. This is a dude that's just a playmaker. He can play physical and tough around the line of scrimmage. Like, more particularly, I think, at the slot box. But like, even in off coverage, like, he does a good job at just kind of anticipating and breaking and making plays. Yeah, I mean, this is a dude that forced fumbles when he was playing from the slot. I think, didn't he have like a fumble recovery for a touchdown, an interception return for a touchdown, and then a block? It was like a blocked kick for a touchdown back in like 2023. But Barron's a hell of a ball player. Marcus is kind of like, I'm kind of leaning into his train of thought here. Like, he said this at the Senior Bowl. It's like, hey, man, I think the coaching staff, they believe in their guys along that defensive line. They think they got the talent there that they might not necessarily go with defensive line relatively early. And, you know, I'm not against that. I think you could maybe make a case for Kenneth Grant here, since TJ Slaton is a free agent and kind of that big, meaty nose tackle was, I mean, I think Slaton played like 500 snaps. So that would be my only pushback there. Outside of that, I think I would probably, yeah, I agree. Maybe looking at corner. I've been saying they need to get a legit wide receiver one. Josh Jacobs has come out and said it himself. So, yeah, I like it. We got the Minnesota Vikings going with Malachi Stark, safety out of Georgia. And it was kind of interesting to see him still be the first safety on the board, or coming off the board. Like you would think after the freaky workout, Nick Emanuari would be that guy, but let's not trick ourselves. Like Starks had, if you watch the on the field drills, like he was consistently like the fastest or second fastest guy in terms of the their zebra times in on the field drills. So even if like the workouts didn't blow you away, you know what type of player you're getting. Like he's a lot quicker on the field. Might not just be a guy that's like, and I mean, a 4.5 is not a bad time. Yeah, the agility scores weren't ideal, but again, plays faster on the field. Also a guy that can play in the slot, play in the box, play deep, gives you that versatility. The Vikings, they play a lot of 3 safety sets with you got Metlis, you have Harrison Smith, who's a free agent, Cameron Bynum, who's a free agent. Do they bring both those guys back? Do they bring at least one of those guys back? So safety could be a sneaky like want for the Vikings. We got Emeka Buka going to the Houston Texans. Not much to say here. It's kind of like the obvious pick if he's Emeka Buka still on the board. You get to reunite him and CJ Stroud. Stroud would love a wide receiver. Stephon Diggs. He's coming off the ACL. Do you bring him back? Tank Dell. We're not going to see him for quite a bit after a devastating injury. Nico Collins was a guy that missed time last year because of a hamstring. So wide receiver makes sense. Grabbing someone that Stroud used to throw to also makes a ton of sense. This Rams pick I thought was interesting because this is actually where he goes Kenneth Grant. And I think you literally make the same argument that I was making about Kenneth Grant to the Packers, because Bobby Brown's a free agent. He was kind of their run stuff and nose tackle. He played a significant amount of snaps along that defensive line. So it's a significant role that Kenneth Grant would be stepping into. We've seen all the top wide receivers just kind of come off the board. They resigned Alaric Jackson, which I assumed they would. You could maybe make a case at corner, but then who's that guy here? You got like Maxwell Harrison. You had the whole allegations from 2021 just like popped up. Not necessarily just popped up, but like may have resurfaced. It's like an open case still. So like now there's a red flag with a guy you assume probably would start to be thought about around this area. So I can see it, man. I can see Kenneth Grant because I think he probably goes higher than this just because, well, at that size, he is hella explosive when he works out March 21st on Michigan's Pro Day. I think he's going to put on a show. Baltimore Ravens are going to go with Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle out of Oregon. Ronnie Stanley's a free agent. At least they haven't re-signed him yet. Yes, I buy it. Connerly Jr. being available here, I think it'd be a fun fit for Mockin's system as well. We got, this is formerly the Cleveland Browns pick. So they did trade Myles Garrett. They get Mikael Williams. Mikael Williams, he's freaky. He's going to test out his pro day. He's probably going to look hella good. He's probably going to get drafted a hell of a lot higher than here just because tools rules everything around me. Talking like I'm Trent Baalke. Hashtag bars. Get me on the track. Yeah. Anywho, yeah, you're gonna be replacing Mikael Williams, who at the very least I think has a high ceiling as a very good run stuffer. But there is that pass rushing upside given his tools. He was banged up this year, so I think we probably would have saw a bigger step up in terms of production, but he was slowed by the high ankle sprain. I mean, you come out this draft with Shedeur, quarterback of the future, Mikael Williams. You're probably feeling good. And I know I may not love Browns going with quarterback early, but like at least you have some hope there rather than freaking Deshaun Watson. Pick 29 is the Commanders. I believe they go, Jalen Walker, edge / linebacker. Let's be real, edge out of Georgia. They're gonna be looking for some pass rush. Dante Fowler, Cleo Farrell, they're free agents, but I mean, let's be serious. They need another guy there. Walker could be that, man. I mean, Dan Quinn, he's got experience with working with guys with sub 33-inch arms, rushing off the edge as long as they, you know, test out like freaks. Not saying that that's the comp. It's certainly not the comp for Jalen Walker, but just saying he's got experience with these shorter armed, quick, fast pass rushers. So you bring him into the building and hey, you get more pass rush, or you could just go out and trade for Myles Garrett. I kind of like that option. This next pick, I believe, is Buffalo Bills. They're gonna go with a player, Derek Harmon. Derek Harmon, defensive interior out of Oregon. Yeah, I mean, Daquan Jones, he's like 34. He's up there in years. They've tried drafting guys into this spot. I think they drafted. Let's go Bills depth chart. They drafted, oh my gosh, Dwayne Carter, like late in the third. Got a couple of guys that are free agents. So it's really just Dwayne Carter and Daquan Jones. Again, Ed Oliver is your starter, so it's like trying to think who's next to him. So you could definitely go in and get Harmon, who was by far the best pass rushing defensive interior player this past season. He's a thick boy, ran well at the combine. I like it. We got the Kansas City Chiefs. Imagine. No, they go Colston Loveland. So with the news that Tooney out, I wonder how active the Chiefs are going to be. They don't have like a ton of draft capital to make moves up, because we've seen them like move up to get players they like Trent McDuffie. I don't know if they necessarily have the draft capital to make a move like that if they want to at tackle, but I feel like tackle now becomes paramount. Try and protect Patrick Mahomes. Maybe they go out, get a Tyron Smith. I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. But Colston Loveland is your heir apparent here to Travis Kelce. Well, they have Noah Gray, very solid tight end too. Oh, well, they drafted Jared Wiley. Never believed in him. Hey, I hope he succeeds. Just I don't believe in him. I'm sorry. But yeah, Loveland. I mean, he's just a different animal as a pass catcher. And listen, if you're not going to be able to get a tackle here, then get guys that can get open very quickly. Get the ball out of Mahomes' hands very quickly. Like it. And then we see with the last pick here, Donovan Jackson going to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is a fascinating one. They will be what? Trying to think. Well, for one, like Mekhi Becton has not been brought back yet. Zach Bond hasn't been given a franchise tag or any deal worked out yet. I'm very intrigued to see what transpires Monday when it comes to free agency. Like, I'm very fascinated. But Donovan Jackson could come in and be that guard with his traits and tools. It's like, you got Stoutland. Maybe you develop him into the heir apparent for Lane Johnson. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility, but he's probably going to be your guard of the future. Again, what we've seen from Tyler Steen doesn't make me believe that they believe in him, but maybe they do. Maybe they do. But that's the mock draft. Holy moly, that was a lot longer than I suspected. Again, since I'm doing this, I always say when I do a mock draft on somebody's video, the videos take longer to cover just because I want to make sure I get their perspective. Not necessarily correct, because again, this is me trying to remember after the fact, but at least in the ballpark. I don't want to just disparage their actual opinion, but yeah, it's just easier to do articles. It just is. So I don't know, Marcus. I don't know. Put it in article format for me next time. Not really, but let me know what you think of Marcus's mock draft in the comment section below. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead, check that sucker out on That Franchise Guy on YouTube. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.